Airbnb is, at its core, an open community dedicated to bringing the world closer together by fostering meaningful shared experiences amongst people from all parts of the world. Our community includes millions of people from virtually every country on the globe. It is an incredibly diverse community, drawing together individuals of different cultures, values, and norms. The Airbnb community is committed to building a world where people from every background feel welcomed and respected, no matter how far they have traveled from home. This commitment rests on two foundational principles that apply both to Airbnb's host and guest: inclusion and respect. Inclusion. We welcome guests of all backgrounds with authentic hospitality and open minds. Joining Airbnb as a host or guest means becoming part of a community of inclusion. Bias, prejudice, racism, and hatred have no place on our platform or in our community. While hosts are required to follow all applicable laws that prohibit discrimination based on such factors as race, religion, national origin, and others listed below, we commit to do more than comply with the minimum requirements established by law. Respect. We are respectful of each other and our interactions and encounters. Airbnb appreciates the local laws and cultural norms vary around the world and expects hosts and guests to abide by local laws and to engage with each other respectfully, even when views may not reflect their beliefs or upbringings. Airbnb's members bring to our community an incredible diversity of background experiences, beliefs, and customs. By connecting people of different backgrounds, Airbnb fosters greater understanding and appreciation for the common characteristics shared by all human beings and undermines prejudice rooted in misconception, misinformation, and misunderstanding. Are you going to live up to that, Airbnb? I say, whoa, welcome to the Best Friend Weekend Podcast. It's your man, Aldo. Nice.
It's your boy, Raj Smooth.
It's your boy, Los, a.k.a. CAP.
So obviously you could tell by the happenings of the last week, we've been talking about this for about a week, that we were going to come with part 3 of the 3-part series, The Calm, the Storm, the Aftermath of our DC trip. And this is where things, I guess, take a turn for the serious. It's the aftermath, and Airbnb and While Black is basically the most pertinent issue that we went through in a long time, and obviously over that weekend, man. So for those of y'all who aren't familiar with our platform, I'm just going to quickly say this is Best Friend Weekend Podcast. We normally do a lot of just current events. It's our comical take on current events. It's smart. A lot of things you'll hear if you listen to our podcast is funny and it's smart. And we got our own Southern twang to it, but we're diverse. We lived all over the place, and it's a good thing. Anything else you guys want to add about the podcast before we get into the business? That is,
I think you should listen. If you're not listening, you're missing out.
That's funny. I think you should listen if you're not already listening.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're listening, you should be listening. But anyway,
tell a friend to tell a friend.
So there's a couple of different tenets to what our podcast is, and one of them is Best Friend Weekend, best friends. We sit down, we talk, like I said, smart and funny commentary on things that are going on. You don't have a reason or a need to listen to go to World Star or to go to any one of these or even the Shade Room or anything, because we're telling you everything that's happening right here, and we're giving you a funny take on it, a smart take on those things. You can still go to those sites, but check in weekly and get our take on those things. But also, we are a travel group of friends. We host an event called Best Friend Weekend about every 3 months or so, and we travel to different cities. We'll bring at least 30 or 40 different people have came out to the different Best Friend Weekends. Some come every time, some come here and there, but we have a good time at these Best Friend Weekend trips. And we also do a travel brand where we're working on things like hats and beach towels and just different things in that nature where, hey, when you hang with your best friend, it's a Best Friend Weekend. So get geared up and do the Best Friend Weekend things, man. I'm going to ask you guys once again, Raj Losh, you have anything else to add about the pod?
I mean, when it comes to the weekend, I believe, it's a great time where a bunch of people who are professionals get together and we just have fun in a different city. You know, we come together and go see the sights, eat the eats, and just have a good time. And it's fun. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I definitely enjoy all the Best Friend weekends.
I think my take on it is we've experienced travelers, but also experienced partiers, and we know how to have a good time.
True.
So I'm giving a recommendation out there, and it's not biased. It is biased a bit because I'm a part of it, but for the most part, on the outside looking in, if I was, I'd want to be there. You know what I mean? Like that's somewhere I'd want to be. So,
and part of the experience of being an experienced traveler is kind of like we've experienced different things with traveling in different cities. So like one of the first trips that we all, or most of us, went on together was Los Angeles. We went to Los Angeles about maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And we just went out there to have us a hangout, best friend weekend. We brought a bunch of guys and we ended up renting a place. Did we use Airbnb for that venture, Raj?
definitely, 100%.
And that was in the Hollywood Hills, right? So Raj, you were actually the person who booked that house. So tell them about that experience and how that might have shaped our experiences going further.
Not to peek too far into the podcast, but it's always easier to use Chase's account, CNH's account. So we use CNH's account on that one. It was a little bit different. I just don't feel like there was much invasiveness from that person. The person was a little bit, the homeowner, I mean, was a little bit curious as to where Chase was, because I don't know if his flight was delayed at that time or if it was just that he got in on a different day. I think he either got in later or on a different day, but they were still cool. You know what I mean? Like, just like, all right, man, y'all have a good time. Like, basically, this is like, I feel like, I'm gonna equate it to like a hotel room. Whenever you get a hotel room, as long as you like, you can have literally 800 people in that room. If you got 800 monks in that room, then you basically like, you clear to go. They'll never know.
But if you got one monkey in your room, then I guess they're gonna call Airbnb.
Or one monkey sleeping on the couch. You just
one monkey on the how they do. But okay, continue, Raj.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Like the person in LA, the host in LA was just, like he didn't necessarily see the person that rented for us, which was CNH. But he was cool about it. You know what I mean? Like he just was.
I remember that being I remember that being an ongoing joke while we were out there. That every time the homeowner like called or something, or because they were trying to sell that house, so they were popping up and actually showing the house while we were in it, which is weird. But every time that he was trying to coordinate with us, CNH wasn't around. Like he was at the mall or he was out having drinks or doing something. So he finally met him like the last day of the trip. So. Like maybe in the back of his head, he thought he might not have even existed until the last day of the trip. He's like, "Oh, you have been here the whole time." So it was just kind of one of those situations.
So what y'all saying is we've been using CNH's white privilege to get with Airbnb.
Well, I think that's a little much. What I'll say is this: Chase rented that room in Los Angeles, but that was the only one he's ever done for us until this latest episode.
Okay, gotcha.
Because the next best friend weekend event was in Colorado, and we went over there and we were having trouble booking. And I remember leading up to the event, we were like, we can't find a good spot, and people were giving us kind of the runaround about why they couldn't rent your spot. And I'm like, well, but your spot's on Airbnb and it's listed as open and available. Then why can't we? And we got into like some contentious arguments back and forth. On my account, my own personal account, as far as why people wouldn't rent, and they always had a reason. Well, because I'm going to be out of town, and I'm always in town, and if you want to rent it, it'll be X amount more. And they do little things like, hey, look, contact me outside of the app. That's a thing I've seen a lot, and I think that that's kind of their way of being like, I'm going to tell you something that I shouldn't be saying, and I don't want it documented. So contact me outside of the app about this. So that happened. So we started looking into different options like Inclusive and Noir B&B and trying to find things that were black owned because we knew that there was kind of a problem there. You don't have to be blind to see that. Yeah. However, we did end up finding somebody in Denver, downtown Denver. He agreed to host us outside of like just kind of like one little minor thing that we said was broken before we came in the house, which obviously was. But we went back and forth with that. I mean, it was a pleasant event. Like, I didn't give him a negative review or anything. And we just kind of was like, okay, I think that chair was broke, but whatever. But that thing was just kind of a one-off. And it was a fine event. Then we went to Atlanta for Best Friend Weekend more recently. Los, you can probably speak to the homeowner in Atlanta and how that vibe was.
The homeowner in Atlanta was cool, man. I remember we ran out of toilet paper and we contacted him and asked, hey, you don't have enough toilet paper in the house. And he brought it right over. I think we were getting ready to watch the Saints game, matter of fact. And he was like, hey, man, y'all having a good time? He's like, yeah, man, thank you. He said, man, y'all enjoy yourself, man. Enjoy the house. It's a nice house. Enjoy it, man. If y'all need anything else, call me back. And I mean, at that time, we were getting ramped up for the Saints game. Saints get everywhere. And he didn't blink an eye. He was just like, man, I'm glad y'all having a good time. He didn't walk in. He handed me the toilet paper and turned around, got back in his car. Made sure everything was okay. Make sure we were having a good time and got back in his car. He was extremely cool. He just like, enjoy the house, man. It's a nice house, isn't it? I'm like, yes, it really is. I think that was the best house we've stayed in so far.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the homeowner in Atlanta was a black guy.
He definitely was a brother. He's a brother, yeah, for sure.
The homeowner in Colorado was a Hispanic guy in Denver. Mm-hmm. The homeowners in LA were of another race. I don't think they were black or white. I think they were Middle Eastern guys, but I could be mistaken about that. So we've been renting to primarily minorities or renting to other minorities on these apps. So it would appear. But then the lead up to DC, which is the one that we're here to talk about, Memorial Day weekend, we were going to Washington DC, go and hang out. I heard the day party scene was really cool. We wanted to get up with one of our friends who's a video producer out there and just kind of talk about some ideas about how we can build the brand of Best Friend Weekend. So we went up there and we chose DC as a place. Leading up to that trip, we were looking to try to rent an Airbnb, and I was running into a lot of the same things where specifically I tried to rent at this one spot that I found. I was like, oh, this would be really good. When I contacted the guy, he was like, well, my house is not for rent right now. And I'm like, but it's on the site. And he's like, well, no, I have some guests in there and I'm just not sure like when they'll be out and if they're going to stay the whole week or not. Right. And then he asked me to leave the app and text with him. So I was texting him from my Google Voice number and we were doing that. So that's when this is kind of where the story starts. I got a hunch to say, hey, look, CNH, who is our white friend who travels with every one of these trips with us. Yeah. And I was like, hey, send that same guy a request for his house and let's see what happens. And needless to say, he contacted him. He told him, he started asking CNH for more specifics. Can I have the LinkedIn profile of everyone who's going to be staying with you? Can I know like the names and blood types of everyone who's going to be there? Like he was really asking for a lot, but he was giving CNH the opportunity to rent the house where he wasn't giving me an opportunity to rent the house. This is all documented. We can look. I mean, if y'all want to see the screenshots of our inbox, our communications with the dude, his name was David. So a guy named David who rents in the DC area. This is what he was on. So we just were like, we don't want to deal with him because this feels sketchy. It feels racist at its core. So let's find another house. And the house we ended up finding was owned by who we will affectionately refer to as Can Kicking Kyle and Cancellation Karen. But so I mean, we could air them huge, and we probably will, because of how
gonna come out
because of how they handled us. But we're gonna tell y'all a little bit. They had, I think, an instant book feature, so we instantly booked the room. They kept asking, and I mean, this was honestly and I'm leaving out a big part. CNH actually volunteered. He was like, "Hey, look, let me just do the Airbnb thing, so we don't have to worry about people potentially being racist or whatever it is. Let me book the room. You guys just pay me your parts, and then we'll be fine." He booked it first snap right off the rip. He booked the room, so it is under CNH's account. Our white friend, right? So we all planned to go out there on, like, a lot of us were showing up on Thursday. We had different travel times, but we were making sure that CNH was going to be going into the house first because we were like, hey, he's the one whose name is on it. That makes the most sense. Yeah. We kept getting messages from the homeowner saying, hey, look, we need your names. We need your names. And we were like, well, you have it already because we've invited all of the guests and it has pictures of us and it had our Airbnb profiles. So he's like, they have access to all of this. Like, why do they keep asking us? So finally, we gave them our government names. Like, these are the people who are going to be in the house. Cool. We get there and the day of the trip happens and there's huge tornadoes and storms in the DC area. My flight personally got rerouted from Reagan to somewhere Richmond, Virginia, and I had a 4-hour layover in Richmond, Virginia. Raj, how was your flight that day?
My flight was beautiful.
Well, that
sorry,
gorgeous.
I got there on time.
Were the tornadoes in the? I don't think they were in DC. They just had tornadoes all around.
Well, no,
I think at some point in time there was a weather advisory in the area
for DC,
in the DC area, DC metro area. It could have been in Baltimore or Virginia or something like that. But for the most part, flights were delayed.
Okay.
So you're basically saying it was drizzling, and they just didn't want to land the plane.
They were just
it was drizzling in a circular motion.
Okay. Well, the pilot told us there was some weather over DC, so we're gonna land somewhere else. So we ended up, and that was needless to say that put my a big damper on my trip because I'm like, okay, I was supposed to be there at 4, I didn't get there till close to 9, right?
Yeah.
CNH is in the text group at the same time saying, hey, my flight, and to go against all stereotypes on Earth, the white guy in our group was the only one who was flying Spirit. was flying Spirit. I just have to say that because that's the thing.
Which is hilarious.
Which is yeah.
I don't know if y'all got the story straight, but CNH was actually on the plane.
Yeah.
And they deplaned them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, y'all get off the plane and go chill in the lobby. Like,
yeah.
we got to clean up the plane. I don't know why they didn't fly on time. I don't even know if weather had anything to do with it. I think it was just, in bad spirit.
Okay. So, I mean, it might have been a spirit thing, but he said it was a weather thing because, anyway, long story short, his flight got delayed to where he wasn't leaving until like 9 or 10 o'clock. So at that point, we had to make a decision, and we were like, okay, so Rumble, and John Murray and Raj and the uncle were already in DC. So I said, okay, you 4 guys, just go to the house. I was like, Raj, just make sure you meet them at the house. So Raj goes to the house with the guys. Obviously, if you've never used Airbnb before, when you book a reservation, everyone who's invited gets that same message, which gives you access to the door code, like how you get in, what's all of the things, the amenities. You can see all of that, right? So, I mean, CNH didn't have to send you anything, Raj, right?
No, so everyone had access. I mean, just to dive a little deeper into it. Everyone had access to the door code because we were all members of that trip. Whenever you have the app, there's little icons at the bottom. One of them is your trips, and it'll have all the pertinent information that you need for your reservation. So, like you said, the door code, the back door code,
where to park,
right, all that. Like, it'll have all of the information that you need. So anyone that may happen to show up first, regardless of who it is on that reservation, will have that information.
Yeah.
Without it being shared via, an outside source.
Absolutely. So, when I got there at around 9 o'clock, I think, the guys were already there. They were sitting down, chilling. I walked in. We all having a good time, shaking hands like we hadn't seen each other in a while. It's like, oh, yeah, we're going to have fun this weekend, this or that, unpacking, unwinding. And we're like, okay, where's CNH? And then one of our friends, Graham, was supposed to be landing around midnight as well. So at that point, it's us 5, and that's the 5 who are kind of important to this story. We were there, and basically, I sat down, and Raj, you remember this. I brought you guys in the front, and somebody asked me, he's like, why are you so like kind of docile? Why aren't you turned up? And I was like, well, I read some reviews like while I was on the way over here about these owners. So I just want to make sure that we're kind of dotting our I's and crossing our T's, that we are kind of being good tenants. And I know we're usually good tenants everywhere we go. We don't get complaints.
I was about to say, like we be wilding. We don't be doing that much.
Well, so the thing is let me clarify that up a little bit. So like you mentioned all of the other trips. So we had DC. We had LA, we had Denver, and we had Atlanta. All 3 of those were like basically single family homes. You know what I mean? Like just like we could jump on whatever floor we want and not disturb any neighbors underneath us.
Yeah.
This place was kind of, I don't even know what style of home
like a
it
row
was,
house.
but it Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like a row house, and there was people that lived. Right. So the people, there were people that lived on the left and the right and underneath, but it wasn't quite an apartment. It was a house.
Yeah.
So you could still disturb the neighbors. So I think part of your, I guess if you were taking a step back just from where everyone else was to just realize, hey, this is how we need to act whenever we're in here. We're never rowdy enough to cause a stir, but we just need to have a more heightened sense of awareness because of our surroundings.
Yeah. And I mean, real basic things like I consistently over the weekend, hey, bring the noise level on the TV down. Hey guys, come on, man. We laughing a little loud. Shh, it's late. Come on, bring that down. Like a real conscious decision by all of us to be like, hey, let's really be good tenants.
Not walking too hard because somebody's under us. Those type of
things. I mean, some of the things that I read about them and some of those past reviews was saying that, and I'm just going to read 3 that just really stuck out. And this is kind of what my thing was from 2017. Someone said, I wouldn't stay here again. Rats running around all night in the backyard. People upstairs can be heard walking around and stomping all night. The host husband was seen looking through our window late at night and then tried to walk out the gate as we got up to check. At checkout, he was rude as hell and had the nerve to ask me, why are y'all still here? Y'all should be gone by now. Is there anything I should know about? Well, what should you have to know about? Overall, I wouldn't book there again if I'm looking for luxury or privacy. It looks nice, but it's a lot of BS. So this is from 2017. So I had to dig, like I was kind of really digging because I had seen one in 2018 that said, my first negative experience with the Airbnb host. As another reviewer also state, Karen's husband was constantly visiting the property to check up on us. We felt as though we had no privacy whatsoever and were treated with unwarranted hostility by our host. This was such a disappointment. We were visiting DC to celebrate a wedding with friends we don't often see, and our experience with Karen and her husband made what should have been a joyous and celebratory weekend incredibly stressful. While Karen's property was clean and well located, I would not recommend staying there. So after we heard those two, I had just kind of had a thought that maybe something else was going on. And actually, Raj and I had did some digging into VRBO, and we had seen them on VRBO as well. And there was another thing that looked kind of like that, where they accused these black girls of leaving makeup on towels and being rowdy and doing a whole bunch of other stuff because they had originally said that the husband, this Kyle guy, was visiting the house constantly, coming in the house while they were there to fix the air condition multiple times. And he responded like, yeah, I did that because the air conditioner was broke because the house is old. So we had a heightened sense of awareness. Let's just stay out of the way so we don't have to interact with this guy.
That's a little childish makeup on towels. Like, you pay a cleaning fee, man. You got to wash the towels at the end. Everybody uses them anyway. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So after I saw that, like, I guess what kind of put me at ease was that none of us wear makeup
at all.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have had to even worry about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, like maybe they consider that to be damage. Well, that's a part of damage that we won't even have to cross.
True.
Yeah. So I'm cool about that.
We even doubled down and said, look, let's use this as a marketing opportunity. We have our best friend weekend travel towels that we want to start doing. Let's just buy everyone travel towels. So I brought an extra suitcase and we all like chipped in and did our first line of best friend weekend travel towels and gave it to the guys who came. Like, hey, use these towels. Don't use their towels. So we're not even going to touch their towels. Like,
they're actually a must have. I haven't used a different towel since.
That means you don't wash yourself that often, obviously. But so anyway, long story short, this is all happening. I'm discussing it with the guys. Like, hey, look, let's try to keep things down. And then we're taking some shots and we having a couple drinks and we're like, hey, we're about to get out of here. Call the Uber. We're gonna go. And then CNH and Graham, when they get here, they'll come meet us wherever we go. This is around midnight on the first night we're here. All of a sudden, we see some lights come to the back door. And the back door, somebody gets out of a car and the back door opens, unlocks and opens. So just imagine yourself for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting in an Airbnb in a strange city that you don't know after I've had a strenuous travel day. And we're just sitting there at the table doing nothing but just kind of drinking and whatever. And the back door of the house swings open and it's strangers at the back door.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, so I was standing by the window, so I was able to kind of get a glimpse of who it was and I saw two people outside on the phone. I was actually the person that was standing closest to the door whenever they opened it up.
Okay.
When they opened the door, there's like kind of a burglar gate or something like that, like in between the door and me. and him, and it it was your boy Can Kicking, and he was on the phone. I don't know who he was on the phone with, but I kind of assumed, like, just from his demeanor, that he was on the phone with the police, and he said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I don't see him in here."
Yeah,
and just kind of incriminating things, like things that could potentially get people in trouble.
Right.
He didn't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, he kept saying that we weren't doing anything. They look like they're quiet. They're just chilling. They're quiet. But no, this isn't the right people. This isn't the people who booked. This is a false booking, and we need them out of our house right now. We don't know who these people are in our house.
That's what I've been wondering the whole time. I always want to know, like, how do you false book something that you got paid for? You know what I mean? If I'm going to get a car wash and I give you $20 for a car wash, and then you wash my car, and then you be like, wait, no, that's a false car wash. Like, I don't understand false booking.
No,
you got money
I get
in your
that.
account. We paid you your money. We're in the house now. We have the 5 people that are in the house right now on the link as guests. I think you see the 7 or 8 you get to have on there or something like that. So, we're only missing 2 people. CNH is not here. You see the people on the booking as the guest. I just think you got to relax. If they're not tearing up my house and I got my money, I just don't understand what a false booking is. Maybe somebody had to explain that to us. Comment below and let us know what a false booking is.
Well, I get what you're saying. I mean, and using the analogy you said, it's like go and get a car wash and I pay for the car wash and then someone else drives my car over there and gets it washed. Like, are you not going to wash it because it's not the person you thought's supposed to be driving the car up here?
It's weird.
We know, I think I know what a lot of these things are, and we'll talk a little bit about how they tried to spin it after the case, because they talked about this concept of false bookings and what they thought and whatever else. So the first thing they asked us was for identification. I was like, look, these are the names on the list. These are who we are. I'll show you my ID. And when I went to show them my ID, they were like, no, we don't want to see it. Yeah, officer, they're still in here, and they were still talking to the police the whole time. First thing I thought is that's some bold stuff. Yeah. If these are some people who you think shouldn't be in your house, you just come and roll up in here and like confronting them about, I don't know, that's bold to me, just in and of itself.
Especially it's 5 people in there, and just you and your old lady coming there like, hey, let's go over here and put them out, honey.
If you're nervous enough to call the police, you shouldn't be comfortable enough to just open up the door.
But I think some people feel protected while they're on the phone with the police too. You gotta realize that.
I was very bold. I'm sorry, no, I wasn't very bold. I think that it's so bold that I think that I really think that that's a scam that they run. Like, I think that that's like a somewhat of a legal scam that they have in where they just try to find the smallest thing and kick somebody out for, like, somewhat of a breach of contract. I don't really, I operate my life and work life and everything in good faith, and I don't think that these guys rent in good faith. I think they rent for monetary gain and even for to get over on people. Yeah. So I think that it's bold, but I think they know what they're doing.
No,
absolutely.
I think
they knew exactly what they were doing.
They know exactly how to do it. Yeah. Because they knew exactly what to say, what verbiage to use. They knew exactly how to be. Like they knew it. They knew it perfectly. Like they knew exactly how to move to get people out their house. After what 6-7 hours.
And this is what I'm going to play right now is just some audio from that actual exchange when they came to the house and were at the back door fussing with us.
Because we don't know who Chase appears to be somebody totally. Okay, well, Chase is going to be here, but no, would you like me to show you a picture of me and Chase? No, hold on, sir. Oh no, Chase just texted me. He said we got a problem on our hands. Somebody's kind of Chase. Where's Chase? No, he's not cooperating. There's been no information, and Airbnb has been calling him for hours trying to say. He's been in there. So I think literally, I don't feel like threatening call police, but I can show you a picture of me and Chase. How about you 3 of you show us IDs that match with the name list? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can do that because I'm on the But Chase is not here. He's not here. Oh, sure. Yeah, that's true. No, it's what are you here for? Even on fixed records, you can't possibly understand me. We're professional. You don't have to be with it. I don't know who anybody is. We met on the internet. We had a blindfold on until this morning. They had bad weather. So when the bad weather came in, I got rerouted to Richmond, and I was actually had a show for 4 hours. I was for 4 hours. The guy in the black suit right there, like Chase, I had to his flight didn't get. Like he just said, you actually just lost. I said take a picture of it.
So even with that, like you listen to that and you hear what I'm saying. They were confrontational off top, and the first question that I'm thinking a lot of you guys are out there is how did they know that CNH wasn't there? There were cameras in the front of the house. There were cameras in the back of the house. There was a Ring doorbell. It was like an armed fortress. And I just want to paint the picture. Y'all said it was like a brownstone row house right there in downtown DC, Capitol Hill area. But the area seemed really gentrified. The feel of it was black people lived here for a long time. Now they don't. Now we want y'all out, and anything that looks like a black face around here is danger. We have burglar bars, we have cameras, and that kind of feel is what was happening there. That this at one point, I can't confirm that, but it feels like I can confirm that area was definitely gentrified. Like,
so I'm gonna take I want to say that I definitely agree with you about the gentrification of that area. But I don't personally know that. It did definitely have that feel. The only thing that was a problem to me, you mentioned the cameras in the front of the house, the Ring doorbell, and the cameras in the back of the house, was that I don't think that those things should be used as proactively as they used it. Like, I think that those things should be, we're getting noise complaints, and secondarily we saw 700 people enter the home. Yeah. So, let's react on that. I don't think that it should be, we don't see the home, the person that booked the reservation. Mm-hmm. So now we should react in a certain way because we didn't see it on the camera. I think that that's an abuse of your cameras.
And two things. You're absolutely right about that. And I think that this is something that everybody should think about. Had CNH's other friends been white, how would they even have determined that he wasn't one of the ones who walked in the house? Like, if you're sitting there monitoring the camera, the only reason you called the police is because you expected a white guy to only have white friends. And when you saw not a white face come, my house is in danger. This is burglars, home invasion. I need 3 squad cars, 4 police officers to show up after midnight, even though they're doing nothing. The other point I just kind of wanted to just put a bow on. Raj, when we got there, what I noticed was white women in their 30s and white men in their 30s walking dogs and running in front of that house. Yeah. And I saw black dudes in their 30s and kind of looking some kind of dope fiend looking people too on the same block. Those are telltale signs of gentrification. If you have white folks running their dogs, black people bums in the same area, you ain't got to ask too many questions about what's happening there. That's gentrification 101.
Yeah, sure. And I'm not saying
that's a gentrification gumbo.
And an old Whole Foods or whatever they have, Safeway right around the corner. That is not.
Come on, liquor store right there.
I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I'm not saying that that's not a thing. I'm just saying that I'm not using that. I'm not using that in my critique of how they use their cameras.
Gotcha.
Okay. Like, I think that the biggest thing was that they used their cameras, that they abused their cameras.
Yeah.
And sure, it was a place of the area was a gentrified area. I agree with you on that. I just don't necessarily factor that into how I feel about this particular situation. I would rent in a gentrified area 365 days out of the week.
Okay. Yeah. So just to kind of play devil's advocate a little bit, what if you had a Airbnb and you're renting out and are you looking on your Ring and you haven't seen the guy because you've been watching it all day and you haven't seen the guy that's
what you're doing right now is kind of a misrepresentation.
I'm not going to contradict myself. Yeah, I'm not. That's what I'm asking. So here's the thing. So Los, I can't say that I wouldn't watch my cameras actively, but I'm not going to act upon it if I see something but I don't hear, I obviously have a decent relationship with the neighbors because there's been, so say in their reviews, noise complaints. So I have some sort of relationship with my neighbors.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I would imagine if I have a rental property that is directly neighboring other people's homes, I would try to have some sort of relationship like, hey guys, call me if there's any noise, or call the police but notify me. Whatever the case is,
Yeah.
I wouldn't make a stir if there wasn't a stir, or if there wasn't liquid to stir.
I'm with you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I mean you're making points, and
Yeah.
like this kind of at this point it brings us to the actual events that are seen in the video that's circulating the internet. So the front door, there's a knock at the front door, and I go from the back door to the front door, and I open it, and it's the police officers. So I step outside, and I'm like, they're like, what's happening? And the homeowners see that the cops are there. So they hurry up and get in their car, and they're circling around. So they have to leave around the alley and come around the front to come to meet the police. So in the 1 minute that I was outside in front with the police, I was able to explain the whole situation in a very succinct way that they understood exactly what was going on. I was like, officer, look, this is an Airbnb. We're here. We're missing one friend who isn't here yet. He's the guy who booked. He's white. These people are obviously looking at these cameras and only see black people coming in. We've showed them our IDs. We're on the list. We're on the reservations. His flight got delayed. Y'all know the weather was bad out here. They called the police, and they have you guys out here trying to to arrest us or to put us out of the house because the white guy's not here. And I made a little point to say something like, it's very much like I can't go nowhere without my white master. And when I said that, like, you could see their face like, what? And I'm like, yeah, they're acting like if I don't have my white man there to carry me through the house, then we can't go nowhere. And you could see one or two of the officers just kind of take that, internalize it, and feel exactly what was going on. And when Karen and Kyle got out of their car, they was on 10. Like, they were on 12. And that's the video you see. Them fussing with the police because the police had walked up to us and said, hey, look, let me see your phone. Let me see the emails and the text. Like, we even showed them our text group with all of the messages with CNA saying that he was going to be late. The flights got delayed.
We even showed them pictures.
Yeah.
We even showed them pictures of us and Chase together. Like, that was, like, it got to the point where we were doing things just to, like,
Not
save ourselves from any type of police interaction.
Yeah.
From any type of negative police interaction. We were doing things that we probably ordinarily wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Complying to things that were just to get us from being in trouble.
Yeah, and
if
I mean,
you will.
It was like an open book. You can look at anything in my phone. Here, take my phone. And they're looking through this, and they're saying, okay, this makes sense. Everything y'all are saying is making sense. But the homeowners just they wouldn't buy that. And I'm gonna play that audio clip again for you. That you've probably seen it before, but I'm gonna play it one more time.
His flight was delayed. That's the reason why he's not here.
But they're all in our house.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm just asking for one more
And
piece
it's
of
for
information.
But it's right there in your phone.
Ma'am, I don't see a selfie. I see a government photo ID. I'm good with that.
Which you said you wanted, a government photo ID. So I'm confused.
And I see a delay, but I don't see the guy's name.
But
on the
Airbnb
ticket.
hasn't
I
been able
don't
to
see the
verify
guy's
it
name
either.
on the airline ticket. So
Airbnb has been on it for hours. They haven't been able to verify it. It's not just us.
Because he's on a plane. Did you ever think about that? He has to get to the airport, all of those things. Did you think about that?
Oh, that's magic. No, we never thought of that. No. But there's a household of strangers here for hours, and Chase looks.
That's what you say, a house full of niggas. A reservation for the amount of people that's supposed to be here.
I'm not worried about that. That was correct. I mean, that is correct. I have been burned by false.
But it looks like a misrepresentation,
And
actually.
that's all I'm trying to be resolved from. And if I can't get response from the person, then I shut it down.
We shut it down. That's our only
If his
recourse.
flight was delayed, why are you not
when we
taking?
get
Why are
scared,
you
we
not
shut
taking
shit
him
down.
to play? We had a tornado.
Oh, I
Okay,
understand.
so there could have been weather delays or whatever the case may be. So why don't you give him time to respond? Maybe he's unable to respond.
Of course.
Okay, but you don't work for the airport. We can't
No,
say what's
all
going
we
on.
have is personal contact.
So see, you've heard it again. The thing that sticks out to me on the audio in the video is that he kept calling us strangers. Now you can overhear me in the background saying, he didn't want to call us strangers. He wanted to call us niggas. Because that's definitely what I think he wanted to do. But my biggest question is, as an Airbnb host, isn't everyone you rent to a stranger?
You don't know them personally. You only rent to your homeboys and your friends.
Like, they're strangers in my house. And I got to sit here with these strangers in my house.
Or maybe he invites you over to lunch before you actually.
I actually want to interject. I want to interject on that. So here's my problem. Here's my problem with that statement. Yeah, I think every single Airbnb renter is a stranger. But he was acting like he never heard of us before. Mm-hmm. We're on that reservation. Mm-hmm. Like, we had the door code to your home because we're on that reservation. So you're pretty much lying to the police, telling them that we're strangers. Mm-hmm. So, like, if there's anything that makes us not a stranger, in his definition of stranger, there's strangers in our home. If there's anything that makes us not a stranger, because the stranger was Chase, or I'm sorry, the non-stranger was Chase. Mm-hmm. What made us strangers? Mm-hmm. That we were on that reservation. I don't know. I never really was able to grasp how he felt that we were strangers when we were on that reservation. Yeah. As well. I do get that. Let me give them the benefit of the doubt in saying, oh, we've been burnt. Maybe they have been burnt in some sort of way before. It's just you weren't burnt in this situation and you were just blatantly wrong. And I think you should pay for it. You know what I mean? Like, you just, in this situation, you may have thought that you were being burned, but you weren't.
Yeah. Like, what ended up happening in the interim, as they were descending upon the house, they canceled our reservation. So that's why we're calling them cancellation Karen. And as you saw in the video, the guy was kicking stuff in the front of the house when he was fussing with the police. So that's why we call him Can Kicking Kyle. But she cancels our reservation. Verbatim in the text, it says, Chase, I'm canceling the reservation on Airbnb due to suspected hack. And so basically, at that point, we're without a reservation. We're sitting outside of the house and we're like, what's going on? We have a contentious argument, like, with the cops, in the cops' presence. Raj, I remember you got up and got real hyped with him, and I had said, like, hey, Raj, just relax. Like, let's just not have a confrontation right now. And then I proceeded to have the same conversation I told you not to have, like 10 seconds later. And I stood up and was like, you know what? Nah, this needs to be said, that if we weren't black, and I put it out there right in front of the police and to the homeowners. And that's when the homeowner was like, yeah, I don't know what y'all guys can do. Y'all can go. He's like, if y'all want to stay, y'all can stay, but y'all can go. And so y'all don't have to be here or something like that. And then he leaves. So at that point, we're sitting there, like, when CNH comes a little later, and he comes later in the evening, and he's like, we're all floored. We're all sitting there kind of like adrenaline high, like, what happened with the situation. The cops had stayed and talked to us for a little while afterwards and everything. Once again, shout out DC area police, man. Like, y'all the real MVPs for seeing through the bullshit. And so we sat down and we were talking for a little while, and like, we're talking to CNH, and we're like, so what's the status of our place right now? Is this guy come and put us out tomorrow? Like, so that was kind of like this whole pall over, like, can we talk to Airbnb? Are they going to get us in another spot? And then we were looking, and it was like, oh, it's Memorial Day weekend. There aren't a lot of spots like in DC ready right now for them to accommodate them. CNH Chase is going back and forth with the Airbnb via text, via call, and really nothing is getting done about it. Yeah. So we're kind of like, I guess we'll have to see what would happen the next day. So just kind of a little bit more in the backstory. The next morning, we get CNH gets some messages from Karen, the homeowner, and she said she called Airbnb for reassurance when you were not on the property, and I had not heard from you while 6 people, when it was only 5, who I could not verify on the platform were in the house. This is viewed as a third-party booking if it was true. In your case, it wasn't, but I had no way of knowing that. In my past, Burns parties kicked up within an hour of people taking occupancy. That problem is a much bigger issue to tackle. I've been there. Last week, for the record, a woman who booked for 6 couples never arrived. Her husband, along with 12 male friends, instead used her reservation. We canceled their reservation as we are not comfortable with large, all-male, in this case white, groups. She was not on the property and did not disclose that, thus it was over. I was hacked 3 times and had my buildings overrun with house parties. A string of these incidences happened in DC in March. We have had booking with actual verified guest profiles hijacked by local thieves. I had my own host profile hacked. So to your friends, I'm sorry. But you can see why I move aggressively to protect my world. And then she sent an article to CNH on dark Airbnb web reservations. All of this was her way of trying to explain the accounts. So 2 things stick out to me right there. Obviously, 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if we talk about Airbnb doesn't discriminate against gender as a thing, we don't host male groups.
Yeah. So my question is, so if the lady would have been there, you're fine with the 12 men. So all I had to do was have the woman show up, and she would have been there when you got there. You okay? That's basically what she said.
So that's not. I don't think that. Wait, I want to touch on that. So I don't think that that's the thing. I don't think the thing is like if the lady would have been there. She said, and I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt again, that she booked for 12 couples and it was all men.
Yeah.
We booked for 7 guys and it was 7 guys.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. So like what's the, like you're trying to compare apples to oranges here. I don't care what other situation that you had that you thought or that you were right about. You were just wrong about this one.
Yeah. And I mean, even
that's
that,
all I have to say.
What if the 6 couples were 6 gay couples? Like, she doesn't know who they like rented for. Like, so it could have been 12 people. Like, I get all of that, but that's one thing. But the kicker is when you throw in this case, they were white.
They were all white. Yeah. Okay. Now I feel better.
So, what's that supposed to do for us? Are we supposed to walk away from that experience and be like, now. Okay. Karen, yeah, we get you, Karen.
Yeah. Okay,
these are yeah, we're okay.
Yeah.
So just that's kind of how they were rocking. A thing that sticks in my head was just kind of the what if scenario.
Yeah.
When people call the police, especially when white people call the police on black people, there's a expected result. There is an anticipated result that they're looking for. No one can tell me that they have the blinders on so much that they don't know how America works. Oh. That they've never heard of Philando Castile. Yeah. Like they can't tell me that they don't know anything about Eric Garner or Trayvon Martin or Mike Brown. Like they can't tell me that Alton Sterling is nothing they've ever heard about. Right?
Yeah.
So when we have situations and we talk about Black Lives Matter and we talk about interactions with the police, they were trying to put them laws in our life so something bad would happen to us. Yeah, anytime you call the police on a black man, like, especially when he's not doing nothing, you're putting the laws in my life for no reason. And I was shook. So when I went to that door, if I had reached in my pocket very fast to validate who I was on the phone, being in a place I was supposed to be, doing nothing wrong to anyone, my life could have been over. Because you chose to call the police and say, hey, look, they got some colors in my house. And we that's not what we signed up for.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know none of them. That's what I was about to say. I think when they call the police and have an expectation, I think when the police are called on us, we have an expectation as well. And 9 times out of 10, the expectation is not good. I think, thank God that you guys got out that situation unscathed, sort of say. But at the same time, when they call the police and y'all hit the text group like, hey man, this lady called the police on us, I was spooked and I wasn't even there because, you got all my friends in the house way in DC. I don't know what's going on. I'm not there. I don't know, I don't know who the police are. I don't know what type of police they are. You know what I mean? I don't know the situation fully. So, it brings me, I'm scared too. I got anxiety thinking about that because I know a few instances where the police got called on some people I know for not doing nothing and it hadn't been an outcome like this before. So you just never know, even if you're not in a situation, your close friends in a situation, and hearing that, not even being that close to the situation until the next day when I got out there, you still feel some kind of way about it, the expectation, when we hear the police are called, we have expectations as well, just like they do. I think I was on 2 different ends because mine not, when you said the police would call, I'm like, man, I hope it ain't no, You know what I'm saying? I hope nothing crazy happen, man. You know, just because I don't want none of my friends hurt or go to jail for no nonsense, you know?
So, Raj, you mentioned something that I don't know if you want to kind of broach this subject on air, but I mean, I think it's an important conversation for our listeners, specifically people who've listened to our podcast for a long time. We've had multiple episodes where we talk about race and we talk about race relations in America. And you did make a comment about not feeling as though you were ever put in a certain type of position because of your race. Yeah. And I mean, in that moment, we talked about it in that moment. I don't know if you're comfortable kind of bringing that up here, but.
So I'm always comfortable bringing stuff up. I feel like I'm an open book when it comes to these things, and sometimes I may even be criticized, for experience in life the way that I have experienced life. I feel like this was, if not the first, or one of, if not the first times that I've had the police called on me, for a reason that I truly believe, to be race, solely. It definitely was an interesting experience. The only thing that I feel like, and I don't ever want to experience this, but I feel like, we had the authorities on our side. I felt like we had a leg up once I saw how the interaction was going between can kicking and cancellation. So I still to this day don't feel like I've necessarily had that interaction, and I don't want it. I'm not saying, oh yeah, I wish this would happen so I could be more black. I just, I do feel like though this was, like me moving the way that I like to move in our group, moving the way that we like to move. I feel like we're a very calculated group. We're very careful. We don't want that type of energy in our life. And so I was ready for it. You know what I mean? Like I was ready for that police interaction. Now, granted, yeah, sure, something could have caught me off guard, or maybe I would have had to change my demeanor. But for the most part, I felt comfortable because I felt like I did prepare for that particular interaction.
The question I would ask is just this. And I think the more the context of what was said before, I think this is what you said, something along the lines of, you don't feel like a lot of situations have happened like things have happened to you in life solely because you were black. Do you feel like solely because you were black is why you were put in this situation?
100%.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, and it's kind of like there's no way around that when people start talking about racism and race relations in America, that's how that's how negative race relations manifest themselves. Situations like that. I'm definitely going to I'm gonna play another clip right now from Rumble because he was in the house and he definitely wanted to share some of his thoughts on that experience.
The whole little situation with Can kicking Kyle and cancellation Karen, that shit was very, very wild. But just to put it all in perspective, at this point in the game, I'm just numb to it, It hurt, but it's not surprising. Personally, when I work with a bunch of different races, bunch of different people, just been around them for a while now. And when it just comes to other races, I just don't have high hopes that they'll see me for me, Only bad part is, it's just crazy how I let all just that type of stuff potentially kind of just change me. And like all these type of encounters kind of alters my perception of the world and also to my projection onto the world. It's like the only bad part about these type of situations. But out the gate, I kind of, I'm very observant. So out the gate, I kind of felt better because Can kicking Kyle was on 10. And when I realized his energy levels was way that high and everybody else was real docile and chill, I just kind of knew that wouldn't work well in his favor. And also too, I knew where we were at, where we were supposed to be at. We ain't do nothing wrong. So just me being a logical thinker, I really wasn't bent out of shape. And me knowing how white folk get, being from the deep south, it wasn't surprising at all either. I guess to sum it up, it just all was just fucked up and, not surprising. Also too, you always see shit like this popping up with Airbnb, but you'll never assume that you will be in the middle of some shit like that. And also, too, those officers handle it real nice. And that kind of made me look at officers in a different light, in a way. So, I guess some good came from the situation, too. But fuck Can Kicking Kyle. And cancellation Karen with her no ass.
Okay.
So I debated about editing out certain parts but that's his testimony. That man was there, he lived it, that's his testimony. If that's how you want to talk about them people.
I mean, you can't.
But he ain't wrong. You ain't wrong when you're right, man.
I ride with you when you're right. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
damn.
I mean, he did say some very interesting things, and had some things I really believe, such as that police interaction at the end made me feel DC police in general made me feel a lot more like, you know what, police aren't always the problem.
Yeah.
It's not always like the cops are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, just as long as it's not no group thinking but people are people, and if people are like on some nonsense, then anybody could be on some nonsense. These people just were like, and full disclosure, it was one female officer, she was black, 2 black male officers, and 1 white male officer.
Yeah.
And they were good people, man. I wish I had all their badge numbers so I could give them shout outs for the good things they do. But
send them a
DC police is what's up.
Yeah.
Exactly. The whole 9. But yeah, like Rumble said, another thing. How did you feel? I mean, Los, I know you weren't there at that time. Raj, did you feel surreal at all when the police were there, like that we were in the middle of it?
No, I honestly felt surreal that we just had so much support. Like, it almost felt biased.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, biased support from the police, because their argument was so invalid. Mm-hmm. And they saw it. You know what I mean? Like, we saw it and we just felt like, what the hell? Like, what did we even do? Like, we didn't even do anything. And the police are like, they didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
Like, that felt good.
Yeah.
That felt good to have that on our side.
I'm sure
the police.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sure it felt great. Because Roger, like you attested to earlier, I'm not sure if you ever been on the other side where you haven't done a thing and the police were like, on the other end, on their end, like, oh, okay, y'all must be doing something wrong. They call the police for a reason. I'm sure with Al, I know Al has been through that before. And Al, how did it make you feel when you've been on the other side where you haven't done anything and the police will call, or you had an interaction with the police when you know you haven't done anything and they were trying to prove that you've done something that you haven't done?
Well, the thing is, well, I mean, I come from one of those, and all 3 of us do come from those type of, and I hate to put it in this way, but those type of black families that raised us in a particular way. Yeah, we know how to interact with the police. True. Raj, I would think more than both Los and I, you kind of have a little bit more defiance in you when it comes to talking to the police. Like, when I've been in those type of situations, I just shut up. Yes. I just be like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. Like, so I can be steaming on the inside, but you can feel somebody's vibe. And I can, and it just take me a second to look down and see you got that coat, that 45 on your side. and I don't want no smoke with you. Like, I don't want no smoke with the police ever. Like, just, you good, dog. Like, unless the police doing something to me or my people and are already kind of engaged in doing us wrong, man, you could have it. You got it. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's like any other situation when you're growing up. If it's like a not necessarily a bully, I don't want to use that analogy, but if somebody has like a gun, I know you've been in a situation before where like somebody you might maybe not necessarily be beefing with or whatever, but somebody brandishes a firearm, shows you they got a gun. Yeah. The minute somebody show me they got a gun, if I ain't got one and I don't want that, man, look, I don't want no smoke.
I've been drawn down on by the police before as a teenager, so I definitely understand and know, the I guess the psyche of a person who has been through that. And like during the time, you just revert back to how you were taught. You just tell that man, yes sir, no sudden movements. I was taught that at a young age. Don't listen. The police said actually do something, do it. I think as I get older and a lot more wiser and been through more situations of that nature, I know for sure I definitely don't want that smoke, especially with the current climate that's going on now. We both 80s babies. We're all 80s babies coming from Louisiana. So we definitely understand the different ways that can go. And even living in 2019 where we live now, we definitely understand, how it could escalate in different ways. And so if the less resistance I give you, I feel like the more chance I have of going home or staying alive. You know what I mean?
No, you're making good points. And I mean, all of that took place and it was a lot to process. And then, so we were sitting there, and I'm just going to kind of just move this along a little bit. We were like shooken. We were sitting there the next day. We were just talking about like, dang, what are we going to do? What's Airbnb going to do about like this spot? Like, where are we going with this? We got Chase CNH contacting them. He's texting with a specialist or whatever. The one thing that maybe it was Memorial Day weekend, so maybe they weren't work. I don't know, but that's not an excuse, even if it was.
They never said
he was emailing with them.
The problem.
So next thing you know, the same car, a drop top, comes back the next day, parks behind the house, and someone runs upstairs. I think it's Rumble, and he says, "Hey, they got a car parked in the back of the house."
I told him.
We're like, "Really?"
Yeah.
And so we just went on about our business. Like, well, this can't be the guy coming back again. So we doing whatever we doing, going about our business. And about 2 hours later, we get ready to leave. The car's still out there. Mm-hmm. And we notice the guy peering into the back window, peering around, like walking around the property. And he's got a hose in his hand, and he's been watering something. So in some... I'm not even going to call it the comic relief, but this part of it, so he's confronted. The homeowner is Kyle again. And the and CNH and Boss Man, our homeboy Boss Man, confront him. Boss Man goes outside and really is just kind of on some, like, he's an experienced traveler too. He actually works overseas, and he's always, like, he stays in a B&B all the time. And this is his interaction. Well, he had an interaction with him as well where they were going back and forth. So I want you guys to check that out.
Parties and stuff like that. Any noise complaint or anything? Okay. I feel the same, but I want to be honest. Seeing you here sort of feel like you're sort of intimidating us and stuff like that. Okay, so this is not meant to intimidate us or anything like that? Okay.
There's a new guest coming in within the next 2 hours.
Okay, because for me it seems, it was very regular to Friday night, but also I've never you could go and see all the places I stayed with Airbnb. I've never seen the owner come by, water the concrete on a Saturday. So I just,
This is all new, but there's a total turnover right below you.
Okay.
It's complete.
Okay. So it's new to water the concrete on a Saturday then.
These are
Plants?
plants.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets sun all day. But anyway, look.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, because I mean we're quiet and we're trying to just, please just.
I respect it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So yeah, that was Kyle coming back and watering the concrete for 2 hours, which nobody gets. But I mean, that's what he is. That's what he was out there doing. He thought that was his way of spying or whatever, and it really made all of those reviews make sense. That not only would he call the police on us, he would still come back and try to intimidate us and whatever else. And that whole time when we walked out of the house, the first thing we did, we sat down in the Uber and we said, contact Airbnb. It's time to get out of here. We need to find another place to stay because this is escalating to a situation where it's going to be a negative interaction.
Yeah, he's antagonizing. He's antagonizing at this point. And,
Airbnb never responded.
No. They dropped the ball.
FYI.
They dropped the ball. Yeah.
He was he was trying to get a rise out of us. He was trying to get us to do something so we could be on the negative side. And I mean, isn't that what the cop said? One of the cops told us that before he left. He said, you guys are in the right. He was like, don't let anything happen this weekend that's going to make you guys end up going to jail because of something that they provoke you. Didn't he say that, Raj?
Yeah, he did. I don't understand why your boy came back to the house. Just like John Murray said, I think that was some sort of like intimidation tactic. It was unnecessary, and there was definitely a review, that you might read later or you may have already read, that spoke to him peering in the windows and whatnot. That I feel like that type of activity shouldn't be condoned on Airbnb, and they shouldn't be able to rent on Airbnb, and I feel like that should also trickle over to VRBO in all of them. So yeah, I kind of don't understand their actions. It was very, very invasive and it hurt. To be honest.
I don't know. We've been dancing around a lot. I just Karen and Kyle Krutzberg of Fifth Street Holdings LLC. Just FYI, that's who the people we're. That's just so you know who's the people. If you're renting on Airbnb and you see that, don't. This is what can happen to you, especially if you're a person of color.
But the thing is it doesn't even doesn't even matter if you're a person of color, because there's been gender discrimination, there's been racial discrimination, on of all sorts. It just seems like these people are just not good people, like at all, like period.
So yeah, before we get off of that topic, John Murray actually said he wanted to check in and let us know a little bit about his thoughts on those experiences he had with Kyle and just with the Airbnb in general. So I'm going to turn it over to John Murray.
So this weekend I was caught up in a situation that you see online sometimes and you think to yourself, well, man, that should never happen to me. Or, or you just you wonder how in 2019, 2018, last year, when all these stuff was going on, how these things could happen. You see them trending, barbecuing while black, selling lemonade while black. Now this weekend, me and some friends then went to a nation capital, and then we get caught up in a situation where we Airbnb while black, for me, myself, I travel all over the world. I'm in Australia, I'm in Asia, I'm in all these places, and sometimes I'm like the only black face, or one of the few. And here I am in DC, which, have a large black population, and I get the cops calling me at 11:30 at night for doing nothing, no noise disturbance, no neighbors reporting any issues, just Airbnb hosts basically seeing 6 black guys in his Airbnb without the white friend that's also supposed to be there. It's shocking, man. It hurts so hard. You can't put it to words when it happened to you. You just live them, and you're like, man. So even when you look at the people who are responsible for that type of hatred projected towards you, you see that one of the ladies, she's in the Navy, and you reflect like, wow, here's a fellow service member, I was prior service, and this person's still in and discriminating against you. Now you wonder, when she's in ranks, how many of her soldiers then she discriminated against. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, man. I pray that nobody has to go through it. I pray that we could, stop these trends like Airbnb while black, or barbecuing while black, sitting in your dorms while black. I mean, this is crazy, man. I mean, it just needs to stop.
I mean, our homeboy, Boss Man Murray, he's from the Virgin Islands. He's an island guy, and I think that a lot of kind of his take is just even a different take than even ours on, just blackness as a whole, what being black means and everything like that. And just kind of hearing him talk about it when I've heard him and had interactions, and we talked about it even over the weekends. Yeah, he seemed more hurt about it than most of us. Like, yeah, the exchange was it was tough.
I think what John Murray is touching on is that no matter how hard you work as a young black man to try to be not a stereotypical black man or thug, whatever they want to call us, posse, whatever they want to try to label us as. I think no matter how hard you work at it, you're reminded, that no matter what you've done in life or how successful you've been or how much money you make or where you travel, at the end of the day, people see color. They see you as a black man, and you're a threat. You know what I mean? For no reason. Even when you're not trying to be a threat. We talked about on this podcast before, just be on the elevator by yourself and a white lady gets on and you move to the corner. Just try to make her feel safe. You don't feel the danger. She doesn't know that, your profession, your background, your parents, where you come from. I think he really, for him, it sounded like it just reminded him like, dang, everything I've done, I've seen the world, I've traveled all over the place. I've worked hard, I'm very successful. And at the end of the day, these people saw me as a threat for absolutely no reason.
That point makes a lot of sense. And it's something that we talked about as well that weekend that, listen, when people book you on an Airbnb or people look at you or whatever, you can be a 45, 36, grown black man.
Yeah.
And they always look at you like you some kind of child thug who about to do something, whatever. There's never a point where we get old enough to be like, that's a grown up and I don't have those same, thoughts. And I wonder, like, if my father or if like an older guy in his 60s would have been like, hey, I'm renting this place and with 5 or 6 of his friends. Would Karen and Kyle have been like, no, we don't rent to large groups of all male groups and y'all black? Mm-hmm. Like with after all of the living that we've done, mm-hmm. and I feel like I've done a lot of living to my age, and I feel like I know that I'm a huge asset to society. I'm an adult. I'm a role model to a lot of people. But to them, black skin, it don't matter.
Yeah.
They would probably rent to a 25-year-old, 23-year-old white boy who might get in there with a rock band and tear it up. I'm not trying to be stereotypical. I'm just saying that there are people that they could just look at their skin and be like, they good, and they could have got their house torn up.
Yeah.
But they don't know any of that about us. Don't look at our reviews. It's just black faces in our house. Get out.
Yeah, basically.
It's sad, man.
And I think the even bigger injustice to this is that Airbnb doesn't support the people who made them Airbnb. You know what I mean? What happened to the customer's always right? Or even let's hear you out. Let's try to rectify this and make this right for you and your situation. Especially when you can. I mean, it's online. All you have to do if you get a complaint from some people who had complaints in the past, and they have they have a history of these things. Not saying that they've never been burnt before, but it sounds to me that they have been wrong more than they've been right. You know what I mean? So, our favorite saying is, you're not right when you're wrong. One of them, we flip it. So I feel like at the end of the day, you as Airbnb dropped the ball on this one way bigger than Kyle and Karen. You know what I mean? Because, at the end of the day, you have to make sure that your customers are happy, because without your customers, you have no money. Like, it's no Airbnb. You can't just do us any kind of way when we're spending our money.
Well, let's go there. In 2016, Rania Cherry and Stephon Grant had the police called on them in Atlanta, and they had guns drawn down on them, and they were told them that they were thieves, very similar to us. That made national news. In North Carolina, this host made hateful racist posts and canceled the booking by a black guest. I mean, we didn't get the racist hateful post, but we did get we got our booking canceled by these people. Yeah. Other people all over the other world have made fake profiles and like said, hey, look, I'm gonna try it with my black profile, I'm gonna try it with my white profile, and they see that they draw more interest from Airbnb hosts when they're a white face. I mean, Airbnb has a stance on racism, and I read it at the top of the podcast. It's a thing that they say, but their response to us was just the company line. And it was basically that they told us, we will not try to put a price on the hurt you experience. Rather, we will be taking action that we hope is lasting and meaningful. And they also made a point to say that they can't tell me what they'll end up doing with Karen and Kyle, because that's a private matter. Mm-hmm. That's verbatim what they said in the email. It's private, and that's and they can't, the privacy issues, they can't let me know if they'll let them rent or not. Mm-hmm. And they can't and a thing that we said is like, no, you can put a price on this hurt, and you can monetarily compensate us for the time for a terrible experience, a terrible trip, because of the way that they allowed these hosts to do us and didn't give us an option to go anywhere else. And I mean, that's just what it is.
Really not knowing whether when we come, like say we go out to have brunch and we come back, not knowing if we're gonna be able to get in or not. I remember us
That's
coming back
exactly
in the Uber.
what we said.
I remember coming back in the
Exactly
Uber
what we
like,
said.
man, what if we can't get in the house and our stuff sitting outside right now with the rain, doing backflips on our luggage?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, that was a real feeling a few times on the trip. You know, I mean, we joked about it, but it was a very real feeling. I remember coming around the corner in the Uber looking, trying to see if my little silver luggage was outside. You know what I mean? or did he go through and rummage through our stuff? We don't know. I mean, you know, and it's. I mean, when you go out of town and try to have a good time, you know, with a group of friends, you know, something we do often, and we all well traveled. You know, the last thing you want to do is come back not knowing whether you're gonna be able to get in or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least if you lose your key in the hotel, you go down there, tell them
it was fully at their discretion whether they could have put us out at any moment because they canceled our reservation, and that's what we had to live with hanging over our head for the rest of the time. And Airbnb didn't give us an option to do anything else. I mean, I'm just gonna tell you this: we sent this in the form of both CNH and I sent like 5-page like essays on what took place, the events of this. We also told them that, hey, look, we have a platform and we're going to be speaking on this, and we want Airbnb to be on the right side of this. We told them this for a week. The whole thing is, we're sitting here like, should we put this video out? Should we put this information out on these people the day it happens? Should we do it before we even leave DC? Like, all of these things. And we were like, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait and let Airbnb. Let's let Airbnb do this. We cool people. So today was the first day we posted something online about it. Airbnb responded to our internet post on Twitter within 20 minutes.
If that.
Talking about we don't condone any of this. Give us the name, the address, and everything so we can rectify this. But where has Airbnb been when we've been emailing the customer service, when we've been talking to higher ups, when we've been talking to people in their discrimination things? All they kept telling us is, we can't put a price on the hurt that was caused. And we will make steps to rectify. But the minute that something goes online, they're like, oh, no, we don't want this bad publicity or this bad press. So now Airbnb wants to get back with
DM us the information and we'll get right back with you. Let's try to get this rectified soon.
Delete your post your post real quick, and then
and then we'll try to take care of it from there. No, it's too late. I mean, I feel like I guess it brings you back to, I mean, we're gonna keep picketing, and we're gonna keep picketing. Or we're gonna roll up in there and really do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, so we just kept chilling, and we kept saying no, and we won't go. No, we will go. Now we just decided to kick the door down and put it on the internet. Now you want to talk.
So listeners out there, I want you to kind of understand this: that the power obviously is not in us writing meaningful letters that really talk about the hurt, like what we felt, what we experienced, along with the videos and everything else for them to see. That's not what gets it done. It's not reaching out to the homeowners or anything else. Obviously, what it is in 2019 is the power of social media. So what you can do, we say this all the time. We always ask you guys to do certain things for us. We'll say, hey guys, look, comment on this for this video we got, or do this, or send something to this, whatever. Just funny things we're doing every week on the podcast. Repost the video.
Yes.
I mean, repost the video. You're going to see the video. Go to Twitter, go to Instagram, go to Facebook. It's in all 3 platforms. Repost the video. Let people know that, it happened to some other guys in New York, and I feel terrible about that somebody went in the house and called them some monkeys. I don't know if they called the police on them. I don't know if they put them out, but that was our experience. That's around the same time. I mean, that's our experience at the same time. And I don't want y'all to think that this is a one-off and that Airbnb is just kind of quickly rectifies these situations. No, they're like, okay, we can't put a price on this. Let you guys continue to just kind of hang out there until we actually speak up. And our voice is only a voice of 3. But if we have more voices that are in support of what we're talking about, then maybe some meaningful change might happen. And maybe next time you go on a trip, you'll have, and maybe Best Friend Weekend needs to be the name of a new Airbnb site for Black people. Maybe we need to pick up where Noir B&B and Inclusive left off, because Best Friend Weekend sounds like it could be a thing as well. Hey, that's a lot. I mean, and I'm going to ask you one more big question. How does this experience shape your thoughts going forward about travel experiences. Raj, you got anything specific on that?
If anything, it makes me skeptical to use anything. You know what I mean? I would love it for new Airbnb or inclusive, or even someone that looks like me on Airbnb to be available at all times. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So it definitely makes me skeptical. To use those sites, because I don't want to have to deal with the same thing that we dealt with for doing nothing. Yeah. I could see if we was just being rowdy, if we was just being wild, and it was like, you know what, man, we really we gave y'all a chance. We looked at the cameras, we didn't see Chase. But we don't do that, so we whatever, we let it slide. But y'all was being rowdy, and y'all still don't have Chase here, and and ... etc. But that wasn't the case. It was pretty much just kind of like cut and dry, just all bad, on their part. And it just gave us a sour taste. Unfortunately, Airbnb hasn't done anything yet to kind of like make me feel better about using that site. And like I said about the reviews for the host that we had, I hope that it trickles over to VRBO. Unfortunately for VRBO, it does trickle over for me, like my feelings trickles over to those renters as well. Because I just feel like, there was a point in time in my life, I used every single dollar that was in my bank account on eBay. And eBay is notorious for being for the buyer, not for the seller. Like if the buyer has a complaint, the seller gotta have, almost inconclusive evidence as to why they're right for eBay to side with them. It seems like in this situation, Airbnb isn't doing even the least to try to reconcile our situation. So it does make me feel a certain type of way. It makes me just want to go back to the hotel route, to be honest with you.
I definitely agree with you, Raj, with that. I just feel like, nobody wants to go and spend the type of money we spend when we go to these places. And mind you, it wasn't a little house. I guess we don't want to disclose the dollar amount we put out, but it wasn't like we spent $150 or $200 a night. You know what I mean? We spent a nice amount of change on it, and with no problem. We're not tripping about that. We just want to be treated fairly, man. And when you go through stuff like that, you're like, why not go back to a hotel and let's just see if we can get the floor. You know what I mean? Like, let's just get one floor. But at the same time, we like the house route, the Airbnb. We just don't like to be treated like our problems don't matter. Like, okay, that you went through that, so what? Same thing. If I go to a fast food restaurant and I ask for a certain type of hamburger and they give me just a patty and some tomatoes in my little box, you know what I mean? And they be like, don't worry about it, it's on you. I feel like it's the same way Airbnb is doing us right now. And that's crazy when all the money they're making and, their customer base, there's no true customer service. Especially the people who are, who are black are getting discriminated against.
So, your analogy game been decent today, but really not good. It's the equivalent of them giving you a hamburger and then being like, "Oh shit, you paid for this? Oh, that was supposed to be for that white boy. Give me that hamburger back." That's what the equivalent is. So, just give me that hamburger back. I don't care if you bit a piece off of it. Police. Police. He biting that hamburger. That white boy bought that hamburger. That white boy bought that hamburger. The white boy gave me the money.
That's not his hamburger.
You can't bite that hamburger.
White boy can't buy you no hamburger.
It definitely, just to say what both of you guys said, I'm not going to beat the dead horse because I know we've talked a good bit.
Yeah.
Yes, the next time we have an event, I'm going to be sitting there like, what do we want to do? Because 9 times out of 10, I'm the one who's really putting a lot of the logistics together. The first idea is going to be, what are we going to do? Are we going to try to get an Airbnb? Or do we have to go back the hotel route? Or how do we accommate our friends coming to a different... Like, is, I mean, even if it's just a minor change of going to VRBO or whatever it is, that might be the thing. But like you said, like Raj said, it trickles over. I'm going to feel the same way. I'm going to feel like the same kind of discrimination may take place on those type sites until there's like a real substantive change. I just feel like these type of things can continuously happen, and it's unfortunate. But before we get out of here, we did have like one other person who definitely needed to be heard from.
Yes,
it's a bit of a treat for you guys. So it's a really introspective take on everything that took place this weekend, and it's coming from someone who was right at the center of it. So CNH is going to give you his take on it as the person who booked the room, how he feels as a person with a group of friends from a different race, and how this makes him feel about the situation. I think this is an important speech, or it's not necessarily a speech, but an important talk for you guys to listen to. So I'll turn that over to CNH.
What's up, boys? It's CNH. Just wanted to drop by and kind of throw some things out on how I felt about the situation in DC, the weekend as a whole, kind of what happened with the house, and then really how it affects everything else in life, and why it matters too. I think it's probably for the viewers and the listeners, I think it's important to know a little bit of my background coming up, where I met you guys, what happened. I mean, I grew up in a neighborhood that was, 50% black, 50% white. It was never seen that way though. I played baseball, basketball, and football since I was 5. I think you sit here and you see, all these people that say, oh, he's playing on a black team or he's playing on a white team. And that never occurred to me. So growing up, a lot of friends of both races, met you guys, never saw you guys as, oh, I'm going to hang out with black people. It was the people that live under me that are dope, that I like hanging out with, that I like being around. It didn't matter if you were black, white, indifferent. I've never tried to be black. I think a big issue coming up when I go on these trips and people say, oh, you're going on your black trip. And there's no malicious intent behind that statement. It's just, I think, the ignorance of, why is it a black trip? Why is it not just a trip with people that I enjoy being around and hanging out around? So that's just kind of what you deal with when you deal with these situations. We go to DC, man, hype about the day. I'm leaving at 2 o'clock on Thursday. 8-hour delay in the airport. I'm sure the details have been given over and over on what happened. But just getting off the plane, I get aggressive phone calls from the homeowner and being told what's happening. And as a white guy, there's nothing I can do to imagine being a black guy with 3 cops rolling up into a house that you don't own and being told who knows what by the homeowner. That level of fear or uncertainty has never crossed my mind because I don't have to live in that kind of world. I'm a white guy. White privilege is a thing to a certain level of, where I can go and say something abrasive to the homeowner that maybe, if you're black, you can't because you get the cops called or you get aggressiveness back, which is one of the things that blows my mind in this world. But we get there, man. Everything goes down. Everything works out that night. I walk into the house and I'm kind of, wondering what's happening, what's going on. I write a long letter to Airbnb about kind of what happened to us, what happened to you guys that were at the house first. And I think the funniest quote of the night to me is a cop said, oh, so they can't be here because the white guy's not here. And I think that sums up exactly what was happening. They saw on their Ring doorbell that 6 black dudes were rolling into a house and they didn't like it. And there's nothing, if those were 6 white dudes, not one thing would have been said. And I think that's the biggest issue of the whole thing. Then before calling anybody or doing anything, you immediately call the cops. I think the biggest thing that spoke to me when I saw the video is, if everything would have worked out and he freaked out and he apologized and shook everybody's hand and said, hey, misunderstanding, my bad, that's one thing, man. But when he showed his true colors by kicking a Coke can down the street because he was so mad that he lost that battle. That battle was lost for him because his battle was not with the wrong people were at his house. His battle was with, oh shit, I didn't know there was this many black people coming to my house. And I think that was seen very clearly by the officers, thank God. But who knows how many different ways that could have turned. So all in all, the DC trip, I'm sure, has been covered over and over. I think from a outside perspective, as a white guy, man, going back to the comments of, even friends or coworkers or, oh man, you ain't gonna be here, you're going on the trip with your black friends. Like, man, at no point has it ever occurred to me to be like, these are my black friends, these are my white friends. And it blows my mind that it occurs to other people. And I don't think it comes from a malicious point. I think it comes from a point of people that have literally never been around any kind of black culture, any kind of black people, and they just think that it's literally still a segregated thing when it just doesn't have to be. And I think we've proven that over, the last 10 years. But to continue on, my biggest point tonight, and all I wanted to make was, why does it matter? I think Airbnb, when they said, hey, we don't want to put a price on your hurt, we just want to do the right thing so this doesn't happen again. What that means is, hey, we're going to see if y'all accept this email. If y'all move along, no publicity happens. And, we'll move along. We'll slap the Airbnb homeowners on the wrist. They'll keep renting out. The same shit will keep happening. So in the short term, man, why it matters? So this shit doesn't happen to somebody else at that Airbnb. In the long term, why does it matter? I just don't. I think the only way we get past these kinds of situations is to sit down and have dialogue, have conversations about, hey, this is what it is. This is how it is. How do we fix it? How do we fix perception of everything going on? Why is your perception that way? And maybe sometimes it's not even a malicious perception. It's just their perception. And maybe we can start to right some of these wrongs, not by, hey, you got a lawsuit and a settlement, which in a lot of times is needed. Like, we need our money back from this weekend because we didn't get any of the services or value of the weekend out of what we paid for. But take that back. We can take that loss. It's a slight inconvenience for us to lose that money. But in the big picture, man, if this continues to happen, where does it end? Where does it end? So I think the dialogue that this show, that everybody can produce, if the dialogue moves further, that's where we start to make a little progress. Because I know a lot of white people never get the chance to see this kind of discrimination and maybe don't even think it exists anymore. But I'll tell you, man, we started doing this 2 or 3 years ago. Every Airbnb, we've had to put my picture on there. And that, to me, that saddens me because I don't get it. But to be honest, why? Why? I know groups of white people that would have torn that place to shit. And I don't get why having black people in your Airbnb is an issue. But it also speaks to a higher misunderstanding, a higher lack of intelligence in life, where we go and we gentrify a neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, a black person walking down the street is a threat. That just goes back to sheer ignorance and a lack of dialogue and a lack of people trying to understand. So if we could get anything out of this, and I think the biggest thing for me is to continue a dialogue on why this matters. And coming from a white guy, I can't start to begin to feel how it felt with 6 black guys having a general conversation in a house and 3 police rolling in or the homeowner peeking through the back window. Not one part of me can understand that frustration, that anger, any of that. Because I don't have to go through that. So I'm not sitting here saying I understand, but it gets on a level, it gets to me where I don't understand it. So I don't know why it happens with other white people, any other race. I don't get it, man. You walk up to somebody. I met Roger. Me and Roger hung out. I'm sure y'all know me and Roger. Very good friends. Last 10, 12 years. And Roger's got plenty of flaws. Roger's not the coolest dude in the world. Doesn't dress that great. But you know what? I liked Roger. I liked his personality. I liked how it happened. We all started hanging out. I liked everybody there, not because they were black, not because they were white. We got along. Things we did matched up. Our thought processes matched up for the most part. And when they didn't, we could debate it. And that's the kind of people I want to be around. Black, white, indifferent. Doesn't matter to me. And I don't think we have a problem with it in the South. I don't think we have a problem with it in Washington, D.C. I think it's a national problem. Even people that speak out against racism are probably some of these Airbnb owners that decline a black face on a profile. And I think it's an ignorance and it's a misunderstanding, and the dialogue has to change. And I think that's what this show and so many other shows and venues are for. So I applaud what you boys are doing, man. On another note, had a dope ass weekend in DC. Can't wait till we do it again. Best friend weekend. Love you boys. See y'all later.
So first off, if there's some sort of like best friend weekend fashionista, it's your boy Raj Smooth. I don't know what CNH was talking about there. I appreciate the rest of his comments, but that one was a bold-faced lie, and if you know CNH, that's what that was.
I just need to know who these boys are he kept referencing us as, man. Because listen, I'm a black man. Now let me stop. Man, CNH, when I say he stepped up to the plate and was very adamant in his defense of us.
Yeah.
To anybody who's listening or whatever, man, CNH has solidified itself. Man, I got mixed feelings. Sometimes I'm going to say something that probably might even not be in its right place in this podcast, but I've had situations where I'm like, you know, that guy's a white guy, but he's solid. Yeah. He's solid. And then one day they'll do something and I'm like, damn, I wouldn't have expected that out of you. I would have expected you to understand not to do things like that. And somebody responded to me and was like, you know, white people going white. Every now and again, they going white.
Yeah.
And sometimes you live in a place where you're like, damn, kind of like holding your breath for when somebody's gonna let you down in that way. Mm-hmm. Chase is dope. CNH is dope, and I just hope he never lets us down that way because I don't see it from him at this point, man. This dude is solid, thorough. Yeah. All that to say that, man. Look, I think you guys have got a full picture of kind of like the aftermath, the Airbnb and Wild Black, and everything that took place in DC last week. So I mean, you know, we're not here to necessarily shape your opinion. You can have an opinion, or you can not have an opinion, or you can not care about what we're talking about, whatever. Yeah. But I just kind of would hope that you listen to a story like this and you just be kind of more aware of a little heightened awareness. And I mean, you know, you see some of these things online and you're like, man, that sucks. Well, you know us, and now you know that it happens to us too, and it could happen to you at any moment. So just kind of trying to stay up there. And so this is one of the more, I mean, we've had episodes like this before where we've just kind of picked a serious subject and we decided to just really delve into it. Yeah. So definitely, hopefully you guys got some good listening and some good points here. We'll be back with our regularly scheduled podcast this weekend on we'll have the jokes for you. We'll have you laughing at your desk and doing everything. So, you know, we're complex human beings. So it's a lot of points. It's a lot of parts to us. It's a lot of things going on here. So you're just catching like the professional us, the black men that are behind some of these jokes and some of this content. And hopefully that you guys can appreciate that just as much as you appreciate the jokes and the current events that we give you every week. So once again, appreciate you sitting down. Appreciate you sitting down, messing with us for this last 2.5 hours, however long we've been talking to them people. But yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday.
Hey, you guys holler and take care.